Everybody, I know you probably saw the post on Dare to Lead, but this is Dana Moore, and she is a presidential diamond with doTERRA. And if you've ever used any Live Naturally stuff, she is the co-creator of Live Naturally. So back when we did Roadmap to Success, that was all stuff that was put together by her and her good friend Jenna. And yeah, she is just a gem. She really has an amazing heart, and I think you guys will all see that really, really clearly as she shares her story tonight and really how her evolution and journey went with doTERRA. I was and the one other thing I'll say about Dana too is one thing I love about her so much is she's so genuine and authentic. Like it's so fun. Like she's just very, very real, and you're gonna see, like, even tonight you're seeing all sides of her life, and it's just beautiful. Like, this is the amazing life of a presidential diamond with all these puppies there. It's so fun.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm leaving you on the phone here.
That's great.
There we go.
Perfect. Also, some of you guys might be in her Live Naturally group already. She does awesome Tipster Tuesdays, has a lot of really valuable insight with strategy. And yeah, she's just like been at all levels and experienced the entire journey with doTERRA, and along the way has given and blessed so many people. So I think you guys are all going to love her so much. And she's going to share a story with us tonight.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you guys. I saw the question come through. What Facebook group? It's called Live Naturally System. You are more than welcome to join it. We add you in, and then there's like Tipster Tuesdays every single week. In fact, Michelle Cannon got on today and did 5 social media mistakes to avoid. So that was a really fun one. But usually it's me. So if I bore you, then sorry, Tipster Tuesday won't be very good. But I'm so excited to be on. Honestly, I love doing calls with other teams, and I love just seeing what other leaders have inspired. It's motivating and encouraging to us too. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about our doTERRA journey and kind of what that looked like. I do feel like sometimes we can hold people at a higher rank with this kind of weird esteem that they're like not touchable or just different. And I just promise you it's not. So I'm going to be super real because that's just the only way I know to be. I mean, I just showed you my puppies that are like fresh out of the womb, you know, so, but that's really who we are. So I'm going to go through the story, and I'm going to give you things like hopefully great takeaways and tips that kind of helped us along the way. And as we like sorted out what this whole business of doTERRA was going to be like. And then feel free even to interrupt and ask questions. I really don't care. If you want to throw something in the chat, I might check or catch it. If not, you can unmute. That's totally fine with me. That's kind of how I work. So if you want to wait till the end, that's fine too. But Nate and I have been building doTERRA for a little over 5 years. And when I enrolled in doTERRA, I had already been introduced to oils through Young Living and sold oils via retail, like people sold them to me retail for 6 years. And no one in that time ever offered me a wholesale account with Young Living. And I bought more than once. Like I bought headache rollers that they made. I bought, definitely bought Thieves, definitely Melaleuca, Lemon. So a handful of oils here and there. And I even remember buying them and saying like, I want lavender, Melaleuca, and lemon. She was like, oh, it's like $92. And I was like, okay, how about just the lemon, you know? And because she was selling them to me retail, I could never really like afford a lot. We were really, really broke at that time. And in fact, in the course of the journey, I'll tell you a little bit about our financial history too, but I just tell you that part, the before doTERRA, the Young Living part, because I know sometimes we can be really like, oh, Young Living people, like they hate us. And I don't think that's really true. Like people building in Young Living are probably pretty loyal in their hearts, But a lot of people might just be customers like me looking for a great deal, or moms who can't afford a lot. And, and I wasn't offered a good deal. Okay. So sometimes even that mindset of like Young Living people are the worst, or they're so hard to reach. I don't think that's true at all. In fact, like our entire city switched to doTERRA once we got going. So, yeah, all that to say, be brave with that. But up until that point, we were pretty broke. And the reason we were broke is because we moved to Wisconsin. What happened was I got a job teaching. My husband started working as a financial advisor, which was great and had a lot of promise. And then the economy crashed in 2008, right after we had just had a baby, and the housing market crashed. His business completely tanked. No one was investing money. It was just one of those things that it was like a product of the situation, wrong place, wrong time. And it happened around the world too. It wasn't just, the United States that got hit with that. And so because of that economic crash, we found ourselves unemployed, and we're college graduates. And so we definitely had, college debt for one, but also that it's okay. We're college graduates. Everything is going to be totally fine. We'll get a job. That's why you go to college. So you can get a job. And we weren't able to get a job. My husband couldn't find a job. I had a baby, so I wasn't really looking for a job either. I wanted to be home. That was like my dream. And we kind of went through a season of unemployment that we thought we would come out of quickly, and it lasted several years. And so our debt spiraled unimaginably so, because we didn't realize there was programs and assistance and things at first. So for the first 6 months or so, we put everything on credit cards, even rent and utilities and anything that you could possibly put on a credit card, we did. When we finally got assistance, it was helpful, but it was pretty much far too late at that point as far as how much debt we were in, and no jobs on the horizon, and a second baby now on the way over this course of 2 years. So what happened was, in that time, Nate left and went to the Army. He joined the Army to get paid, because the Army at that time offered signing bonuses as well as a paycheck when they were out at boot camp and things like that. So my daughter and my pregnant belly and myself, we moved in with a friend because we couldn't afford to live anywhere. So we were basically in some ways homeless, which I'm like, wow, I don't realize it was that bad, but it was really bad. Homeless on food stamps, all the things. And it was a really desperate and depressing time, but at the same time, there was some level of hopefulness in it too, so I can just relate to feeling like this can't be the end. This can't be my whole life. But at the same time, right now, it really sucks. I remember going into the grocery store one time, and I was really sick. I had a really sore throat and just a cold, and was achy, and I'm pregnant. I'm trying to take care of a toddler. And I went to get medicine. I didn't have oils then. This was, 8.5, 9 years ago. And I wouldn't have known what to do. I was desperate. I wanted to buy throat drops that numbed your throat. And I went up to the cashier, and it was $11 and some odd change. And I ran a card, and it got declined. I didn't even have $11 on a card anymore. And I was like, oh, I'll just go out to my car and get cash. And I went out to my car because I didn't have cash, and I just cried because I was like, I don't have any money. I can't even buy medicine. I can't talk to my husband because he's in the Army. We can't even talk. He could call me sometimes for 10 minutes once a week and stuff, sometimes every 2 weeks. It was just miserable. And so that was what our life looked like for quite a while. A third baby was on the way eventually. This sounds like we had babies like rabbits. I know. We didn't. They were every 2 years. But this is how long we were actually in a really desperate place. And still, even after he got back from the Army, he just still didn't have a job. So he did odd jobs and served at a restaurant, worked for a lighting company, random stuff, and things like that, but nothing enough to pay bills and, feed children with. So that kind of was our life and kind of what we knew. And in that time, I had this resolution that it's going to be okay. I'm really blessed. I have 2.5 children on the way. I have a husband who loves me. I love him. We felt like our marriage was strong in that. We had the stress of finances, but we didn't let that stop us. And I was like, I can be content in this. We can do this. we can make this happen. It's not going to be a glamorous life. That's okay. We got this. And very resolved in that. And then he got a job as an IT salesman. And it was very close to home, which was great because he had to ride his bike because we only had one car. And if he didn't, I was stuck at home, and that was like miserable. I needed to like go somewhere with the kids, right? And any of you with small children know that like you kind of go completely stir crazy, when you have littles. Even to get out for a walk is like, oh, thank God. So, hey, that looks like my dog. He's so cute. Okay, so sorry, I got distracted by the cute puppy. So we kind of went on like that. He got the job. That was like a breath of fresh air. Our third baby was born at this point, and life like took a turn for the better. We filed bankruptcy. That was like the best thing for us. It was like the gift of grace for our finances, and it was like the slate was wiped clean, and it was so like nothing I'm proud of in the sense of like, oh yeah, everyone should do that. But at the same time, like so thankful for the opportunity for somebody to say, your debt is over. It's gone, So that was a huge thing that happened over 7 years ago now. And we were able to kind of pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and move on. And it was in that fall time that we got introduced to doTERRA. And at this point, I was a teacher before, then I was a doula. I kind of worked, odd hours here and there, whatever I could do when we have kids. But it was hard because childcare is so expensive, So I was dealing with like, how do you take care of kids and childcare and work? And even when I got a doula job, doulas don't make a ton. But then if I had to pay for childcare, it was like I might as well not have done the job at all, As much as I loved it, it was not something that just brought in a lot of extra money and things like that. And again, that was okay. Like we were doing better than ever before. So it was totally fine. And doTERRA comes into our life, and I fall in love with oils. And I begged my husband to go to this class that my best friend was teaching. And he says, sure. And I was like, I really want this like collection of oils because I just feel like it's gonna be really helpful as a mom. It's gonna be really good for our kids. Like, and he's used to me and all my like hippy dippy natural stuff, so he knows that I'm going to squirt garlic juice in their ear and all that stuff. So he's like, whatever, he's not weirded out by the oils at all. Just more than spending money. We just still did not spend money. And any money we spent, now we were bankrupt. So we have no credit whatsoever. We have to spend cash for everything, which is awesome and terrible. It's awesome because it's great accountability and teaches you new things, but it's terrible in a sense of like, it really shows you what you can and cannot afford. But he told me, he said, you can get that kit. And he said, is this every month? Like $150 every month? I was like, oh no, God, no. It's like a one time, I'm just like gonna get oils. Okay. So, and we all know like the rest is history, but I went to the class. Everyone there bought a family physician kit at the time. That's what we called it. And my best friend put them all underneath me, because she knew you had to place people somewhere. She didn't know anything about it, and she wasn't doing the business. But she was just like, well, my upline told me I could put them somewhere, so I'll put them under Dana. That just seems like the smartest. I don't know. I still don't know why she made that decision. So she did that, and that was it. I just kind of started talking about oils to people because I loved them. And people were like, hey, how do you get those? I was like, I don't know. And they're like, well, if I get them, like, if you like, could you like, if you're like my referred, you get like credit? And I was like, I don't know. I could find out. And so I started to enroll people just because they were watching me on Facebook or watching me. And I wasn't posting intentionally at all, like not even close to posting intentionally. And so one thing I would say is if you have new users that are loving their oils, just encourage them, say, don't be afraid to, tell your friends what you're using. Like it might be the answer they're looking for, and keep it really like low key. Don't like make it into something it's not. But I'm the kind of person that people listen to me and they do what I tell them to do. And so I was just posting like, thanks, so excited about my oils, or so thankful for something, and people started to enroll. Then my upline told me, you have to do your LRP to earn. And I was like, oh, Nate's going to kill me, So I was like, can I do this $100 order? If I do, I earn $22, which doesn't make any sense, you know? But he was like, it in the first, it doesn't like pay out, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like canceling the order. And he was like, yeah, I think that's fine. And so I just went for a few months like that. I enrolled a few people here and there, and brought my, you know, I would just say, well, can I use the whatever I earn with doTERRA to pay for doTERRA? Is that okay? Because now I'm like addicted and I like want to order all the oils, you know? And he was like, yeah, that's okay. So as another thing I would say is, when someone can't afford it, see if they are willing just to share really casually with their friends. Like, if you share with your friends really casually, you can usually get at least half your order paid for every month, you know? And like, if you want to do that, that's a great way to, even if you only order 50 PV, share with a friend or two, and you're going to earn that money back, and you're just basically getting free product. It's so easy, you know? Like, I think we turn billing into something too intense sometimes, or we take a user and try to turn them into a builder too fast, but we miss the sharer, you know, bridge kind of thing. Because that's what I needed. I needed a bridge. So I went on like that, enrolling people for a year and not building. Like, I would say, I am not building this business. I am definitely not doing doTERRA. I was terrified to do network marketing. My mindset about network marketing was like in the toilet, because I had done a company fresh out of college and it just didn't work out. And so I just thought they were all the same. So again, people might feel resistant to you because of a past experience that has nothing to do with oils and nothing to do with doTERRA. It's just because they had a bad experience, and just give them time, be really patient with them, and they'll come around on their own. Like, I totally came around on my own about like my mindsets about it. But my up line was in Diamond Club, which I don't know if you guys have any Diamond Clubbers on your team, but she would come around here, around our area, a lot, because my best friend was her sister-in-law. And so she would come to educate us, because we would have classes for her all the time. And I didn't know that was a good thing. I didn't know I wasn't doing anything really. I didn't know I was helping her. What I really thought I was doing was having her work for me and teaching everyone I knew about oils, because I didn't want to teach. I was terrified to teach, and I sure as heck was not doing this business. So what I would do is I would set up classes for her, and I was like, okay, so if you're coming to town, I would love to invite all the medical professionals I know in the area. Can you do a medical professionals class? And she was an ER nurse, so she was very comfortable with that. And I was like, and then I really want the next day to do like a pregnancy, birth, and baby class. I have loads of friends and doula clients and stuff that are pregnant. And then I would also like you to do like a follow-up class, like people who enrolled last time. And I would like make up like all these class ideas. I had no idea that people did this. I had no idea that people made tear pads for this stuff. I like invented these topics in my head, you know. I was like, we're going to do this and this. She would come, she'd be like, how many people are going to be there? And I was like, I don't know, like 12. And I was like, is that okay? Like, I felt like it was so small. Like, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I only gathered 12, you know. I mean, I was like the super sharer of the year, you know. And she would come, she would teach, we would enroll them. We knew that much, you know, and we grew a team that way. And we kind of started to wake up around that point where, you know, $14 comes in, but then $40 comes in, but then $60 comes in. Then you get your first check that's over $100 and your mind is blown, you know. And don't forget that. Don't forget that that kind of money can change someone's life. And for us, getting enough money that would come in that would pay for the oils and then like a little bit more, it really did change our life. And so a whole year went by with that. And then it was around December, my doTERRA checks added up to $600. So it took about a year and casual sharing, really. But then people underneath me started sharing too. And nobody was going to do the business because we talked so negatively about it that no one would admit to doing it. So even though people were sharing oils with each other and enrolling their friends, it was kind of like, we don't build. We're not doing that, you know? And so we all had to like really get some sense knocked into us on that part. But when you bring in $500-$600, that's when Nate woke up and was like, you're kind of good at this and you pretty much paid for our rent. So maybe we should look at this more. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I can't teach these classes. I don't know anything about science. Like, I was terrified to teach. Because when Spring came and taught, she's an ER nurse and she just knew stuff, you know, she just seemed so brilliant, and she really is totally an oiled, brilliant person. But because she was so good at it, I felt like there's no way I can do it. And so we kind of just tossed it around a little. We really prayed about it. I just was really nervous about committing to being a builder. And what happened was I committed. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, let's do this. Let's do this for real. I hosted an AromaTouch training. Still have never taught a class in my life, but hosted an AromaTouch training. Got really like brave, put on my big girl panties, and had 2 classes in the works. And then we woke up one morning and we had gotten a phone call that my dad had died. And so I had to cancel everything. And I was honestly so relieved. That's how terrified I was of teaching the classes. I was like, I got the best excuse ever. Sorry, gotta go to a funeral. Like, really, I'm not trying to make light of that, but like the fact was, that's how, I just want you to know how terrified I was. So when people are really trying to get over their mindsets about teaching, it's real. These are real fears, okay? And they're real things that they have to overcome and maybe get their feet wet slowly and just depending. And it's funny because I'm a very risky person and I dive like 2 feet in for everything, but I wouldn't do it with this. Like, I just couldn't do it. So once we settled, emotions settled, and all the stress of that settled, I finally did teach a class. I didn't die. I had a blast doing it. I thought it was amazing. Practiced my brains out, taught to the wall, did everything I could do to like sorted it out, taught it, felt great about it. A couple of people enrolled, and then we just never looked up since. Like, never have taken a breath really since that moment. It's been 4 years now, and just kind of hustled through building. But at this point now, a lot of my friends that originally had enrolled with me since even like that very first class, they're all catching vision at the same time. So we had a little network growing in our area. We would host big group classes together. It's kind of how we just did it. We just did doTERRA together. We built like a community together, and we just went at it that way. And it was really kind of magical in a lot of ways because there was such unity and we had fun doing it. And now, of course, everyone has their own teams and they run their own things, and we're just, you know, we're big, but then we weren't. We were just like, you know, you'd have a little builder's breakfast at your house. We had 3 people, you know, it was just our little group. And it was just really a precious time in so many ways. And we went through that year. We hit Diamond that same year that we decided to build, because we did Diamond Club and just really pushed hard, and kind of have been kind of pushing hard since. And it was like the moment that my dad died, I had a friend have a dream about us, about having money and how the money was influential. And I don't know if you guys believe in dreams or anything like that. It's totally okay if you don't. I totally do. And she is a very trusted friend. And she was like, I think there's something to this dream, because in this dream, not only do you have money, but you're showing other people how to get money. And it's a lot of money. And I was just like, okay, you know, like, we're like still fresh out of bankruptcy. We just still are paying our bills, you know, like barely. And we have no extra money, you know, this little bit of doTERRA money coming in was like the most we had. So I was kind of like, yeah, that's cute. My dad dies. We all get a couple $1,000s in inheritance, which is like nothing, just life insurance money. So I'm like, well, there it is. There's the money she was dreaming about, you know. But it was kind of like this overnight thing where it was, I believe, the hand of God was on our business from that time, because it just took off in a big way. And we kind of just failed forward and failed fast and went as fast as we could, and kind of picked ourselves up and brushed ourselves off along the way and just kept going, and made a good amount of mistakes with it, but honestly made a lot of great decisions in it too. And so we've had a ton of fun and have just really loved influencing and caring for people. But in that course of Diamond Club, this is where Live Naturally came from. The person who didn't want to teach, never wanted to teach, now teaches people how to teach. It's like the irony of the century. I feel like I'm always like, what the heck happened to us? But in Diamond Club, things were out of stock all the time. Like, kind of, we get like sorted out, and we really like a handout or something like that, and I'd go to order it, and then it would be out of stock. And I'm like, I mean, I had like 12 classes a week during Diamond Club. it was pedal to the metal. We did not look up. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that's out of stock. And then, you know, something else would come out and I'd have to relearn how to teach from something in the middle of Diamond Club, which, you know, you don't have time to breathe, let alone relearn a handout. Like, that was just insane. And no one was teaching anyone how to do it. There was no tutorials. There was no lessons. There was no videos we could find on like a full class. And I just kept saying to Jenna, who's one of my top line leaders, and she's a Blue Diamond and my partner in Live Naturally, I was like, we should create our own. We also did Diamond Club at the same time. I was like, we should just create our own handout. And we would just laugh. Like, that's so funny. We could never do that. But maybe we should, you know. And then after Diamond Club was over, it was like, hey, remember that idea? Maybe we really should. Because again, every time something was out of stock or, you know, a major change or whatever was happening, it was hurting our businesses because we were pushing forward. Like, we didn't have time to wait. We didn't have like a class next month. We had a class tomorrow. And, you know, it was just like a constant thing that we were just frustrated with. And so our thought was like, let's create a handout. Let's make something that flows really well, that's simple, that speaks our language, that's pretty, that we can feel really good about, but also let's never let it get out of stock, which I know we've been out of stock a couple times. I'm really sorry, but you guys order stuff so fast. But it is really our aim to just not be out of stock. Like, that's like one of our biggest parts of our mission statement with this company, is just to not be out of stock for you. But we created a handout, and then people wanted more. They wanted follow-up materials, and they love the aesthetics of it. And we have a very good friend that does all of our design work and things, and it turned into a company, not quite on purpose, but it was our accidental company that has been something that has actually kept us really sharp, and I think has caused us to skill up so much in the business and in education and how this works and how to explain things and how to teach. And so that's the history of Live Naturally and of our doTERRA business and all that jazz. Sorry, I don't feel like I took a breath. Do you guys have questions, comments? I didn't look at the chat.
You got a lot of amens.
Oh yeah, well, that's good.
I have a question, Dana. You mentioned that there were a lot of things that you like messed up on, but there are also some things you did right. Can you maybe highlight? I think you hit some of the things that you did right without knowing you were doing them correctly, but what were some of the things that you messed up on?
Yeah, some of the things we messed up on specifically was just the leadership part of it all, like how to navigate, I've always been natural at leadership. I have been like an RA in college. I used to teach dance. Like, those are things that were part of me, but like, I never led a team like this. You know, I never led this type of an organization. And so I really expected people to do things my way. Like, I was like, this way works, and obviously it's brilliant, and so everyone should do it my way. It's a genius. And that doesn't work for every personality. I didn't know a lot about other people's personalities. I just knew my own, you know, and like worked according to how I like to tick and things like that. And so being very aware of how other people think and process and communicate and work was a huge learning curve for me. And all of my relationships with my qualifiers is very intact. And I'm like, love them so much, but it wasn't always that way. Like, I had to work through things with several of them to get to that place. And it was a lot about me. It was just about me being mature, not feeling threatened. They wanted to do something different than how I built. It wasn't wrong at all. It was just different, but it terrified me. Like, I was like, we don't do it that way. We don't do it that way. And had I just let them go and be themselves and like be free to do it their way, they would have figured it out, you know. And some things they probably would have come back and said, you know, you were right. And other things they would have been like, this is awesome, you know. And I'd be like, wait, what are you doing? Teach me, you know. And so I just think it's a matter of being like maturing as a leader and not letting your pride was totally in the way for me, because I just was like, this is my way. This is my team. This is how we're going to do things. And I don't think you can grow past a certain point like that, you know? And so thank God they're all like very forgiving and loving. And we've had great chats like through it all. And they're growing too, you know, we're all growing in this, but that was a huge one for me.
That's good. I want to ask a question right away before everybody else jumps in.
Sure.
So I feel like in doTERRA, everybody's like first goal and like the first thing they're really going after is diamond. And obviously you guys are at presidential diamond now. And it sounds like a lot of like the beginning part was more like your why was just like necessity for your family. But I'm wondering, as you've gone on, like how that why has just like evolved with the different ranks and what it looks like now for you.
Yeah, I think it definitely changes. And I wouldn't say I had a strong why or even knew how to figure out my why in the beginning. Like I didn't like do a why exercise necessarily. And not that I don't think those are valuable. I totally do. I didn't know. Like one of the things about me is I didn't know any better. Like I didn't know people taught pregnancy classes, right? I just make stuff up. I thought I was because I don't really know what other people are doing usually. I just do my thing. So I didn't know you'd develop a why, that kind of stuff. And in the beginning it was because like I really felt like God was telling us to start this business, you know? So I was like, oh, that's my why. It was like, honestly, obedience. And just feeling like that was the direction we were supposed to go. And then, like the money was coming in. And so it was like, okay. And my first why is shallow, but it was a housekeeper. My first why was I said to Nate, if I earn $3,000 a month, can I get a housekeeper? Then he was like, yes. Well, you guys know money doesn't go as far as we would hope it to go. And so as we're bringing in money, we're using it not only for the business and travel and things like that, but then we started using it for things that like we needed, you know, that we didn't have extra for ever. So he was like, you really can't get a housekeeper yet. Like, and I was like, okay, when I earn $5,000 a month, can I get a housekeeper? And he was like, yes. And so at the very beginning of Diamond Club, we were golds. We had hit 5,000 in like August, like paycheck wise. And, I was like, I've got to get a housekeeper. And it was so good because Diamond Club is, you know, like it was just so nice not to have to worry about cleaning, you know, and stuff like that. So my whys were kind of weird. But then as money started coming in, I think what happened was you realize that you don't need that much, you know, like we all have needs and we all have things and goals and things we want to save for and things we want to do for our kids and house projects and things like that for sure. But once you're diamond and beyond diamond specifically, you start to have excess of like, I mean, like we're comfortable and we still have extra money. Like this is insane. Like I never thought my life would be like that. I never thought we would have extra money, like ever. And it didn't grow up that way. And our marriage definitely didn't start out that way. And so when the excess came, I was like, okay, there's reason we have excess. Like we can do something good with this. And so I just felt so inspired to be like, what does my heart really beat for? What do I care about so much? Like, what do we want to be involved in? And I think we're still figuring those things out. We do support a couple different missions and things, but one cool thing happened where we were able to buy the house we're in now, which is a duplex, which was very affordable. We were only a couple years out of bankruptcy, but because of doTERRA income, we were able to buy a house that quickly. We bought a duplex, rent out the top. Works out really well. We're cramped in here like sardines, but it's totally okay. And then we were able to buy another house about a year and a half ago that we're renovating. We should move in the summer, which is like a dream come true. It's in the middle of trees. I love trees. I love nature. We don't have any space here, no yard, nothing. And there we have like space and woods and stuff. So that's like my biggest thing. But then one of the things that was always been on my heart and this like dream, you know, thing that I wanted to do was build a home for our friends who have special needs kids. They have 2 kids in wheelchairs and another little girl with massive complications, unexplainable things going on in their little bodies, some of our closest friends. And we are able to just contribute in a big way to helping this project. But I mean, they're like, we bought land, they're digging the foundation in the spring, and it's like happening. And 7 years out of bankruptcy, I mean, and 3 houses to be like able to be like invested in is insane. I mean, one house will break you, you know, like houses are not fun to own in that sense, you know, and I just think like that is magical to me that we are able to do that and that we have plenty to do that with, you know, we can fix up our own house and it's going to be beautiful and we can make it the way we want it, which in itself blows my mind. But then we can like help somebody else have a house that's completely ADA, like, everything is accessible for their littles. They can grow in it. It's just going to be easier and help make their life easier. And I just feel really passionate about helping people like take some burden off of their life, so I don't know what else we're going to do, really, but that's what really excites me right now. And we're getting really involved in the foster care, like support within our city. We have extremely high amount of kids in foster care and not enough families. And I don't feel like with our business that we could foster a child right now. Sometimes I don't even know that I pay attention to my own kids enough. I do, but you know what I mean? Mom guilt is real. But to be involved to help support agencies and things that are already in place, that's a huge part of our why. And so obviously it's grown from a housekeeper for myself to, bigger things. But man, don't I wish that I could buy and like pay for housekeepers for moms with littles. I mean, that's like a dream come true. Like those are things that I want to do. And we'll see what comes of it. I feel like we're really planted in our city that we're at. So I just know that we're going to make a difference here. And this isn't like a city that you would move to. Like this is like, it's pretty. We live on Lake Michigan. So it's got beauty, but like, don't be deceived. It's like the poverty rates and the crime rates, they're just insane, And so we're living in a place that needs just a lot of hope, but we feel really like purposeful here. So we'll stay and kind of see what evolves, from it, and stay as long as we feel like we need to, which I hope is forever because I don't really care to move. But I feel really invested in people, my team and our community and things. So yeah, I think your why will evolve like crazy. I also don't think you should care too much if your why isn't big, because like without resources, it's hard to think big sometimes. I'm not a very futuristic person. Like that's not one of my strengths. It doesn't come up high for me. So until I'm like there, then I can see things. I don't like see the big picture like way in advance. So maybe you do and your why is amazing. But if your why is not and all you want is a housekeeper, that's okay. You're going to be just fine. It'll evolve when you get to that next like step or that next hurdle, and it'll grow from there. So yeah, you can just say, Dana told me my why is good enough. Sorry about my cough. Other questions, guys? I'm happy to chat with you about anything. This is the awkward silence.
I have a question. And
okay.
Maybe you chatted about it. Sorry, I'll put my video on. I had to go take some phone calls for BOGOs in the middle there. Sorry. But how do you help, like as a builder, how do you help maybe some builders with you or on your team eventually that do struggle with finance and stuff, and encouraging them in the places like that, even myself too, or future people? So what does that look like?
Yeah, I think one of the things is we don't have to spend a lot of money to do this business, and so keep your team in a really simple mindset and help train them in the value of the product and the value of the oils and the LRP and things like that. Like there is no need to over incentivize. There's no need to have all the flashy things. You don't need to give things away. And I think that's just one thing is like people need to make money. So they're spending money more than they're making money. That's not going to be good for business. And I don't think with doTERRA you have to ever spend more than you make. Like I just don't think you do. You can print off free downloads online and teach, you have your kit. That's all you really need. And so help them to stay in like a humble place of like, this is okay to build like this, I have builders that they're silvers. I bet they're probably going gold this month. They're in Diamond Club and they're killing it, but they were like us. They went through bankruptcy and just had to relocate, really terrible things. And they were at our house over Christmas, and she said something like, she's like, honestly, I'm passing around empty bottles at class and just hoping people don't try to take a drop because I don't have any oil. Like I don't even have peppermint. I don't have lemon anymore. Like we do our 100 PV order. That's it. We can't even do 125, And I was just like, okay, but I'm your upline and I got oil. And I just like threw a crap ton of oil in a bag and like gave it to her. I was like, do what you're doing. You're doing amazing. And so don't be afraid to ask your upline if you're truly like, they are so frugal and they are just killing it and they're doing it, but they literally have to use doTERRA money to pay bills. Like they can't, it's not like an extra business. It's their only business. And I'm like, man, if I can champion that, I will all day long, you know? And so that's okay to say like, hey, this is the place I'm in. These are the oils that I have. And I could really use an extra bottle of Breathe because I don't have any, and it's just not happening, you know? And I think sometimes we can often think people have a scarcity mindset about that stuff, but sometimes it's just like the reality of the budget, you know, and like you have to kind of differentiate between what they're asking. But if you're able to be generous with your team, do that. If you need to ask for help, it's okay. Like it's humble. But I think, you know, if you guys have any extra, anybody is extra, and you give, like if you're generous with little, you'll be given more, you know? And so don't be afraid to be like, you know what, I've got a half a bottle of Breathe, let's split it. And then now you have some, like, it's totally fine, you know? And just that spirit of generosity, because what happens, I think I talked about this maybe with my team, maybe it was Tipster Tuesday, I can't remember, is like, what happens when we don't have a lot is we start to hold tight. Like we're so scared we're going to lose something, and then we're like closed off. But if we're just kind of open with everything, then we're like able to receive as well, you know? But when you're closed off like this, holding everything tight, you can't actually receive anything either. And then you are really stuck in a scarcity mindset. And so it kind of, sometimes it's a mindset thing, sometimes it's a reality thing, and they just need a boost, you know? And we're not necessarily enabling someone, we're like giving them a boost and just like, hey, let me help you out, you know, kind of thing. So, I mean, I don't know you or how, like, you know, where you fit in that and things like that, but I hope that helps just to kind of instill some, you know, some good things in your mind about, one, it doesn't take a lot to do the business. It really doesn't. So keep it small, scale back. Don't buy fresh glassware. You know, if you don't have it, recycle all your bottles, just use that, like do it on the cheap, you know, and you can do it. And then eventually when you have more, you can do more, you know, but you just don't have to do it a lot in the beginning. So
that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were scared to teach classes when you first started out. What would you say to a new builder who's terrified about getting in front of people?
Yeah, I just think, well, a couple things. If they really are terrified, then the best thing to do is have them do it with just one or two people that they're comfortable with. I usually say, you know what, the best thing to do is probably just practice in front of like maybe your sister or your best friend. And I'm like, and technically they're going to hear the presentation and want to enroll, right? But you can just say, I really need to practice with somebody I'm comfortable with because I am afraid of this. Can you listen to my presentation? So that's like one thing. And if they're willing to do that, great. You know, another thing is we usually teach for them a couple times. Like we do have like a 3-time thing. And then we're like, you're on your own on the 4th time, because we all know that you don't have to get fancy to teach a class. You just don't, you know? But if you got to figure out what works for them, like maybe using a tear pad works and they love just the simple tear pad. Maybe they want the handout, you know, and you can kind of say, listen, there's a couple different ways to teach. We're not going to spend all week exploring every option possible, but what feels the most comfortable to you? You've seen me teach, you know, this way. Does that feel good to you? You know, and see what they do there. But sometimes it's really great to like get sick and not show up. Like we've done that, not on purpose, but it's worked out accidentally, like to everyone's favor, where I'm like, listen, I cannot drive 45 minutes. The roads are terrible. Like I can't do it. You're gonna have to just run with it. And just maybe we should cancel. I'm like, don't cancel. There's 3 people for sure coming. Like just do it. You can do it, you know, that kind of thing. And they do it, you know, and then they realize, oh, I didn't die. You know, like, and not only that, not only did I not die, like I was like, I'm good at that. And that was fun. And people thought I was funny and they bought oils and I'm like changing lives. And I was just like, I mean, I was larger than life at that first class. Like I was like, oh my gosh. And I was addicted to it at that moment, you know? But you kind of, it's like throwing your kid in the deep end and hoping they can learn to swim. Like, I don't really recommend that, but like, you know what I mean? The whole theory behind it is just like shove them in as much as possible. You know, maybe you're sitting down with like a one-on-one or something like that. And you're like, I'm sorry, I have got to go to the bathroom. Something's wrong with my stomach. And you get up and you go for 10 minutes. And just be like, hey, take over. I got to hang on, or I got to take a phone call. Like, I need you to take over. I got to see what this is, you know, and walk away and let them chat about it for a good amount of time, enough that they can't sit there silently, that they have to take over. Sometimes that's good. You just trick them into it a little bit, but it's for their own good. You can't do this business unless you're willing to talk to people about oils, even if it's a one-on-one. And there's nothing wrong with building one-on-one. That's the thing, is some people will say, I'm not good in groups, but I can sit down with someone. I'm like, then good, then build that way. Who cares? Like, one-on-ones are incredible and usually have a really high enrollment rate with one-on-ones. So I'm like, great. If you want to do, like, how many one-on-ones do you want to do a month? You want to do 6 a month, 8 a month? That's amazing. Like, you don't even have to ever stand in front of a group if you don't want to. And eventually a one-on-one turns to a 3-on-1, and then they find themselves like teaching, and they're going to just do it. You don't have to worry about it, but I like to kind of push them into situations, but kindly, of course, kindly. Okay, I see a question that came in. How do you get people to classes? That's kind of tricky. And it like goes back to your network, because the more people the odds are you're going to have people that want to come to classes. And we just had people that were hungry to learn about essential oils in our area because no one was really talking about them. And like when all of our friends were going, like everyone was like, well, I want to go because everyone seems to be going. Like, I want to go where everyone's going. They're all going to essential oil classes a lot. So if you have like some builders and close friends, it's really a good idea to have maybe a public class in like your church, or, somewhere where you could probably get like free to cheap rent of sorts, and just be like, every single week, every Monday, it's doTERRA night. We're all going to be here. We're all going to show up. We'll take turns teaching. Whoever you invite is your enrollment. So it's not like, you don't know who belongs to who. Everyone invites people. And then once your people start to show up, you tell your guests, like, for every 3 people that you bring, you get a free roller or something, and you start to have your guests like bring people. And we did that for 3 years. We did public classes every single week for 3 years. And a lot of the same people would show up, which is not a problem at all, because they got on LRP and they're like passionate about oils because we taught them everything on every subject imaginable, but at first we just did intro classes, and then we did, more. So if you have even one other friend doing doTERRA in your area, do them together. Even people maybe that aren't building but are sharing or just love their oils, like ask them to come to class and help register people, or ask them to come to class and just be like a plant that like agrees and smiles and says nice things, that kind of thing. And that can help that, that town or area grow, but also just keep inviting, and if people can't come to a class, I just go for a one-on-one. If you guys need to skill up more in that, you might want to look into Emerge training when it talks about like booking appointments and things, because no is never no. And usually people need to be asked like 12 times before they try a new thing or product. And chances are you've asked once and walked away, maybe twice if you're decent at follow-up, but 4 to 12 times, I doubt it, And so don't be afraid to just keep asking, keep presenting the opportunity. I have people that still haven't enrolled, and they always like piddle around and talk about it and stuff like that. And so I'm like, hey, BOGO week, you should get that wholesale membership, and then you can jump into BOGOs. I don't care if they enroll with $35. I just want them to enroll, for crying out loud, right? But I always look for a chance to go back to them. I'm like, one of these days, I'm going to wear them down and I'm going to make them enroll. And if they don't, they don't, whatever. There's more fish in the sea kind of thing. So, but that has helped. Like, just having public classes has really helped. And, in the beginning, maybe you have them in your home, like maybe you're like, I don't even know if anyone will show up. Open your home up every Monday night, put it on social media, put it in a local community thing, make sure your husband's around. So it's not like you're home alone, in your house. Like, that's not a good idea, but work it out so you're at least safe. But yeah, I think that's like kind of an age-old question, but the more you do this, the better you'll get at that. So just keep going. Don't stop. Okay. So another question, what's my number one tip or strategy that got you? That's such a great question. What's my number one tip or strategy that got you where you are today? I would say the number one thing is hard work. That's pretty much it. I don't think I have any secrets. I don't think that I have skills that are better than anyone else. I was a housewife who went bankrupt and hated network marketing. So it's not like I grew up in this, or I'm skilled in this, or I have a business degree or anything like that. It was just, when I caught vision for it and knew that this is what we wanted, we just never stopped and just kept going. And I guess along with that, the next thing would be problem solving, because you will run into hurdles and you will run into roadblocks, and that's totally okay, but figure out what to do. Don't just stop. Like, I have people say, you know, I reached out to 9 people to reactivate and no one did. I'm like, okay, so what else did you do? How did you reach out to them? Oh, I emailed them. I'm like, okay, well, email means they didn't see it, you know? So did you call them? Oh, I didn't think of that. I'm like, okay, problem solving is like a big deal. Okay. So if something's not working out, figure out another way, like figure out a way around it, figure out a way over it, underneath it, you know, through it, whatever. But you got to figure out how to problem solve and to get beyond, you know, just an objection. But yeah, between that and hard work, like, there's no reason that this doesn't work. doTERRA's comp plan works, you know, and the oils definitely work. So we've got like the perfect, I don't know what I would call it, almost like the secret sauce or the perfect storm. That's what I was trying to say. We had like the perfect storm. So like, what an opportunity, right? Okay, I'm looking and see if there's any other questions. How do I handle someone that is always asking to sample different things? Oh, just say, hey, I have a 3 sample limit and I think I've given you like way more. You're going to need to get your own wholesale membership. Then you can sample all of them. You know, you just got to cut it. You got to be a little direct, and you just got to cut it off like at the knees, you know, because those people will never stop. Like, they'll never, ever stop. And they might not enroll with you. They might go find someone else to bum off of, but that's okay, because you don't want them on your team anyway at that point, you know? So it's okay. You might be like, I wasted so many samples. That's okay too. They needed them, probably helped them for their health. Be happy with that, but let them totally go. But I definitely wouldn't keep sampling people. I'm like, you know what? This is the best week. Go back to them and say, this is the best week for you to get oils, $35, and you can buy BOGOs every day, you know, because you know, they're probably just cheap in a way. So, all right. Do most of my enrollments turn into builders? No. That's okay. I don't know what my stats are on that, but the thing about your enrollments is, don't worry about turning them into builders. Just worry about turning them into oil lovers. Okay. So if you worry about that, once they love oils, these thoughts of building and earning money will take care of themselves. If they love oils, they'll talk about oils. If they love oils, they'll use oils, and it kind of sorts itself out. If they're anti-building, just, you know, be okay with that. Like, don't try to make them into something they're not, but eventually, like, it's okay for you to talk about things. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to take my kids to, you know, this water park for the weekend. It might seem small to you, but like, I earned and paid for this myself. This is coming out of like my doTERRA money, not, you know, and like post about that kind of stuff. Like, you know, those things are like, wow, she makes money on that. That's cool, you know, and it could be small, but it's still like, people are like, my friends that started building with me, they were more impressed when I was like, I made $1,400 last month with doTERRA. And they were like, are you out of your mind? I'm like, I know, I can't believe it. And I would just tell them, like, I can't even believe it's happening. Like, it's working. I didn't even think this kind of stuff works and people make money. And like, they were signing up left and right then when I was barely a silver, you know, because I was talking about how much I made and how impressed I was with it and how shocked I was by it. So like, you know, don't be afraid to talk about those things with your friends. You're like, I can't believe it. You know, like, I know you guys don't want to build or whatever, but I just felt like I got to tell somebody, you know, like, you get it in there. You got to be a little crafty. Okay. Little strategic is really what I would say. Strategic.
Dana, I have a quick follow-up question.
Sure.
and I kind of know the answer because I know you and Kristen were talking about this last week, but your presidential diamond, you've been doing this for years. You must have enrolled like at least 1,000 people yourself, right?
No, great question. This is embarrassing. I've enrolled, I think, 100 people total in 5 years. Like, I'm not a top enroller by any stretch of the imagination. I have people on my team, like golds and diamonds and stuff, that have enrolled like 175 people last year alone, you know? So I am not a top enroller by any stretch of the imagination. What I do feel like I am good at is developing people. And educating users, you know, and so those are the things that I'm bringing to the table. And from that, you know, people are developing, top enrollers are coming out of our team, but that it's not me. And I'm still not, like, when I have an enrollment, I'm like, I had 3 enrollments this month. I'm like a baller. And like, that just doesn't happen. Like, that's a really high month for me. Even now, you know, I think my best month ever was like 12 people. And I was like, wow. And it was during Diamond Club, you know, 4 years ago or whatever. So it wasn't even like recently. But yeah, I've never went on an incentive trip. I've never earned an incentive trip. We have stayed home with our kids. They're little, like my youngest is 4 now, so they're getting there, but I have not felt like loads of freedom to just leave yet. Not that if you do, like, there's anything wrong with that. Please don't hear me say that. Like, go on vacation and leave your children. It just is like a bad time of year for us. And we rank advance so fast that we end up going to Blue and Presidential Diamond Summit. It's always like a week or 2 before. This year is the first year it's kind of spread out. And so I was like, well, I can't go to one thing and then leave my kids again. Like, I just can't. And so, yeah, I've never earned any of those things. And I just don't think you need to be successful in this. In fact, sometimes I think top enrollers can like really struggle with developing culture and education and follow up because they're just busy enrolling. I feel like if I enroll 2-3 people a month, I'm kind of like tired, you know, I'm like, oh, these new people, they're so needy. Like, you know, and it's just, it's a balancing act. So yeah, I think work within your strengths. You know, leadership this year is going to be so good for that. If you guys are silvers and above and going, and honestly, you could still rank to silver this month. So if it's like within grasp, like push and get your butt to leadership, because we're going to talk a lot about developing your strengths, but everyone's got their own, and you can be successful in this business, even if you're a crappy enroller. Oh, I'm kind of a crappy enroller. What else? Oh, is my husband. Yeah, my husband is actually home too. He's almost on year 3 of being home with doTERRA. So we were diamonds, almost blue. And I was like, I need you to come home. We cannot keep this pace up without you. And he said, I need you to hit blue before I come home. And I was like, I can't hit blue unless you come home. Like, I can't. Like, I know what it's going to take. And so he came home in April. We hit blue in June of that year. And it's been great, you know. And he does, like, my husband, with his financial advisor background, he does a lot for like taxes and budget and the stuff that I hate numbers. I'm like, bleh, don't even tell me about those things. But he does all of that for our business. And then he does all of like Live Naturally projections and inventory and things like that, taxes as well. And then he does a lot of our childcare, which now as a presidential, I'm more with our kids than I was the last few years, but he definitely did more of that and loved every second of it. Like, what other dads really get to spend that much time with their kids? They usually don't get to see them that much, you know? And so it's just a huge perk, I think. We used to have a nanny for childcare. I found her on care.com. She came 2 days a week for our youngest. The others were in school by this point, but she recently moved, and then our youngest goes to school half a day every day. So we put him in school, we get work done, and then we pick him up, and he usually eats lunch with us and takes a nap. He's still a really good napper, and so we get a little bit more work done, and then we usually work again at 8 o'clock, like once they're in bed. It's really sporadic, or we take turns. Like, Nate will take him and go do something, and I'll work, or the next day, vice versa. So we're still juggling it just like everybody else, you know. Like, we do have a housekeeper still. That's very helpful. But I still cook, and we still, like, you know, wipe our kids' butts, you know. So that's a funny story. They all actually wipe their own butts. And the other day, Max came. He was like, Mom, Dad, I need you. So Nate goes in, and he was like, dude, I thought you could do this by yourself. He's like, I quit. So we were like, okay, I guess, I don't know why. All of a sudden he was like, I don't want to do that. You do it. So it was super funny to me, but we're still wiping butts. Okay. What do you do when you feel stuck or discouraged? That's a great question. I definitely do get stuck and feel discouraged. I think those are normal parts of the journey. Sometimes when I feel that way, I know I need self-care. I've pushed too hard. I've worked it myself to the bone. I forgot who I was, that kind of thing. Like I might need to pull back for a day or two. And I'm not saying like pull back for a month, that's not self-care. That's just lazy, but I might need to just pull back and and it could be simple. Like, remember I was poor. So like go for a walk on the beach by myself, maybe you can go get a massage. I don't know. But like those types of things were helpful. Just to unplug completely from doTERRA for a day or two is helpful. Like that can be really helpful to kind of back up and look at it from a different perspective is really helpful. Anytime you feel stuck, you got to look at a problem differently. Like, for example, if, I'm sitting here and my perception of my whole room is from this vantage point, but if I move and go sit on the couch, my perception of the room is completely different now. And so sometimes we just have to actually change the way we see something. So get up and move, really truly go for a walk, do something so you're thinking differently, go lay in your bathtub, do something else. Because then your brain actually sees and thinks about the problem, if it's a problem, or the situation or whatever it may be differently. And then it can actually figure out a problem, an answer to that problem. So I kind of get away from myself, when we're like, oh, we're stuck. Like Jenna and I, we meet every Thursday. We work together every Thursday for Live Naturally and stuff. And we sit around the table, but sometimes we're like, we all got to get up and move, or we'll play with Play-Doh while we talk. Everyone just plays with Play-Doh because it's that act of getting your brain to engage and think of new things. That helps a ton. We pray, pray when you're stuck, pray when you're discouraged. But playing is one of the best things to do to refresh your mind. Play with your kids, play with your husband, play sports, play music. I don't know, whatever you like to paint, anything like that uses a different part of your brain is so helpful. Actually, it's really practical, but so helpful. My top 5 strengths are strategic, activator, positivity, maximizer, achiever. It's kind of an intense combination, I've learned to dial it down. Okay. I've learned to dial it down, but I recognize that it's an intense combination. My favorite development books, GoPro was my very first one that I read that changed everything because of my network marketing, hang up. That actually made me take myself seriously, realize this was a real job. People do this. There's conferences about network marketing. It's a real thing and it's legit. And there's even training and books on it, it actually changed everything. So I think that's one of the best ones to read, hands down. Anything by John Maxwell is my favorite because it's all leadership development. And again, if you're developing yourself, you can develop people, even if you're not a top enroller. So John Maxwell is my favorite. Play with your husband. I know when I said that, I was thinking they're going to think that I mean play with your husband, which I kind of do. That's fine. I mean, that's great. I meant I was thinking in my head, picturing Frisbee or beanbag toss or something that's what I was picturing. But then I was like, I don't care. Go have sex. It's really good for you. It will help. Yeah, cards. I was thinking about cards. Come on, guys. What's my favorite oil for the bedroom? Peppermint. Just peppermint and FCO. The best oil for the bedroom for sure. We just did Nate and I taught together on that. That was super fun. We blushed the whole time, but we made it so funny and our user group loved it. Don't use too much peppermint. I mean, you guys know that, right? 1 drop of peppermint, big handful of FCO, right? 1 drop. Okay. 2 drops is too much. It's just too much. And 1 drop. Go try it tonight, You guys should get off my husband hurts. See, your husbands will love doTERRA and be all about everything in your business if you would do more oils in the bedroom. I promise you. Promise you. Just do it right. Don't do more than one drop. That would be doing it wrong, okay?
Suddenly we have lots of husbands listening.
I know, right? Everyone perks up when you talk about sex. I mean, it's an important part of life, you know? Okay, if you don't like peppermint, ylang ylang plus sandalwood is also a great combination. 1 drop of each, ylang ylang, sandalwood, not Hawaiian, regular. Everyone always asks me. Okay, were we twins separated at birth? Maybe, spirit animal. Okay, anything else, you guys? These are fun questions. You'll get lots more on Tipster Tuesday, too. It's just getting a little bit late, so I just want to make sure if there's anything pressing. But I promise I go through weird and fun things on Tipster Tuesdays.
That was amazing, Dana.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you so much for just being you and sharing that whole journey. I'm sure everybody is just like, oh my gosh, she's so relatable and real, and she's a presidential diamond. So, yeah. Okay, one more question. What did you make last month?
It was our best month ever, and we made $68,000, which was awesome. No bonuses included with that, like no silvers hitting or premieres hitting or whatever. Wow. So one thing about presidential is that whole average is completely skewed. So, yeah. You know how we're like, well, I don't make what an average silver makes. Well, the averages are just like bogus, man. So I always say it's when you've hit that rank super solid, like you can wake up, on the 15th and you're that rank kind of thing. And we're not that for presidential. Like we come in by the skin of our teeth. We've been hitting it for 18 months, but there's still months we haven't like always hit it, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, Nate was like, we need to celebrate. This is our best check ever. And I was like, awesome. So, and it's the reason we're continuing with our house. We pay cash for all of our renovations, which is like insane and amazing. Not to go into debt for this house, but besides the mortgage, we do have a mortgage, but you know what I mean? Get a chef. I don't really want a chef. I really like to cook, but I did order this, I did splurge after we hit and ordered, it's called, what is it called? Daily Harvest? What Daily Harvest? Something where they drop of smoothie bowls and acai bowls and chia seed bowls. I don't know, something like that. But they you get so many a week. I was like, that's what I need. We need food to nourish us when our kids aren't around, because then we just don't eat. We're like, we don't have time for that. Anyway, that was my new fun thing to do this month. Awesome. Somebody said Tyler needs to go to bed, and your parents are also on this call. Is that true?
Yeah, they had executive last month.
What's that?
Tyler's parents had executive last month.
Nice. See? That's amazing. My mom's a diamond on my top line. So
that's awesome.
It's a good retirement package, It's really smart. All right. Well, thank you for letting me be on. And
thank you so much, Dana.
I really do enjoy it, and I consider it a privilege. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. If you're at Orlando Leadership, I won't be in Long Beach, but I'll be at Orlando. Come and say hi. I would love that. Okay.
You're amazing, Dana. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you too.
Have a good night, everybody.
Enjoy the puppies.